Sometimes the most revealing moments happen when nobody expects them. Not during a big interview. Not during a press tour. Not during some carefully orchestrated media moment. Just a mother scrolling through her phone, watching her daughter sing into a microphone in her childhood bedroom, and typing 3 simple words that said more than a 1,000-word statement ever could. That's exactly what happened when Lola Consuelos, the 25-year-old daughter of Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos, shared a short video of herself performing an unreleased song. She was lounging in her bedroom, switching between outfits, holding onto a corded microphone like she was already headlining a show only she could see. And within moments her mother responded publicly, "Love this babe," followed by a string of flame emojis. 3 words. No paragraph. No lecture. No performative parenting moment for the cameras. Just pure, immediate, unfiltered pride. And if you've followed Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos for any length of time, whether through their decades on morning television, their playful banter on Live, or the glimpses they give into their family life, you probably understand why that tiny comment landed so heavily with fans. Because with this family, the small moments are never really small. Let's talk about why. There's something almost cinematic about watching a parent witness their child stepping fully into an identity that used to just be a hobby, a bedroom pastime, a private dream hummed quietly behind a closed door. Lola wasn't performing for a stage in that video. She was performing for herself, in the most unguarded space a person has, their own bedroom, and her mother happened to be watching from the audience of one that matters most. That's the emotional core of this story. Not the outfits, not the microphone, not even the song itself. It's the fact that Kelly Ripa, a woman who has spent nearly 3 decades being watched, analyzed, and quoted on national television, chose restraint in that moment. She didn't try to make it about herself. She didn't turn it into a bigger story than it needed to be. She simply said what was true, that she loved it, and let her daughter have that moment entirely. Viewers online seemed to pick up on that instantly. Comments poured in praising Lola's voice, but almost as many focused on Kelly's response itself, calling it sweet, supportive, and exactly the kind of reaction a proud mother should have. There's a reason that resonates. So many people watching have complicated relationships with how their parents reacted to their creative pursuits. The raised eyebrow, the "that's nice, but what's your real plan?" The quiet skepticism disguised as concern. Kelly's response offered something different. It offered validation without hesitation. And that's worth sitting with for a second, because validation like that isn't nothing. For a 25-year-old putting unreleased music into the world, genuinely vulnerable territory, since sharing something you've written and performed yourself is an act of exposure. Having a parent respond with immediate warmth instead of caution can shape how confidently that person continues to create. This is where the story becomes less about a celebrity Instagram comment and more about something almost universal. Because underneath the fame, the talk show desks, and the red carpets, this is still a mother watching her child chase something meaningful. And whether you grew up with famous parents or ordinary ones, most people know exactly what it feels like to crave that specific kind of unconditional support. The kind that doesn't ask, but is this practical, before it says, "I'm proud of you." Lola, for those less familiar with the family story, is the middle child of Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos, sandwiched between older brother Michael and younger brother Joaquin. She's been quietly building a music career, based partly overseas, and this bedroom video wasn't some isolated moment. It followed the celebration of her debut EP, an occasion Kelly and Mark reportedly surprised her for, having kept their attendance a secret until after her set was finished. Kelly later described the whole thing as something the couple were nearly overwhelmed with pride over, watching hard work finally pay off in real time. That detail matters because it reframes the 3-word Instagram comment as part of a much longer pattern, not a one-off. This isn't a couple performing supportive parenting for an audience. This is a couple who have apparently been quietly, consistently present for their daughter's creative evolution, showing up, staying out of the spotlight when it wasn't theirs to take, and stepping back in only to cheer. It's worth pausing here to talk about why audiences are so drawn to this family's dynamic in the first place, because it's not just about Lola. Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos have built an entire public identity around a particular kind of chemistry, playful, teasing, unmistakably affectionate, and refreshingly unpolished for 2 people who have spent so much of their adult lives on camera. Viewers who tune into their morning show don't just watch for the guests or the headlines. They watch for the marriage, the inside jokes, the way Mark will tease Kelly mid-sentence, or the way she'll roll her eyes at him with a smile she can't quite hide. That same energy seems to extend to how they parent. Fans have watched them gently rib their kids on air for years. Messy bedrooms, unexpected habits, the ordinary chaos of raising three strong personalities under one roof. And it's exactly because audiences have seen the teasing side of this family that a moment like, "Love this babe," hits differently. It's the same family but caught in an unguarded, sincere register. The contrast is part of what makes it memorable. There's also something worth exploring about visibility and vulnerability here. Lola grew up with an unusually public childhood, one where even her bedroom antics, walking in on her parents without knocking, leaving clothes scattered everywhere before a big move, became talk show material at various points over the years. That's a strange thing to carry into adulthood, having pieces of your private life occasionally become public conversation because of who your parents are. And maybe that's part of why this particular moment feels meaningful. This time, the bedroom wasn't the setting for a story about her parents' embarrassment or teasing. It was the setting for her own artistic self-expression on her own terms, with a song that was entirely hers. The attention wasn't incidental to her identity as the Ripa Consuelo's daughter. It was earned through the actual creative work she put into that performance. And her mother's response reflected that shift, not "here's a funny story about my kid," but "look at what my daughter can do." There's a broader conversation happening right now about celebrity families and how much of their children's lives should be shared publicly, especially once those children become adults with their own careers and their own audiences to build. It's a legitimate tension. But in moments like this one, it feels less like exploitation and more like collaboration. A daughter choosing to share her art, and a mother choosing to amplify it rather than overshadow it. Some fans online wondered aloud whether Lola might eventually make an appearance on her parents' show, treating her music the way any other rising artist's work might be featured. Nothing has been confirmed about that, but the enthusiasm behind the idea says something about how much goodwill this family has built with their audience. People aren't just curious about Lola because she's Kelly Ripa's daughter. They're curious because they've watched, even in small glimpses like this one, that she seems to have something real to offer, and that her parents seem to believe that too. It's easy to reduce a story like this to a headline: "Celebrity mom comments on daughter's video." But headlines rarely capture what actually makes these moments worth talking about. What makes it worth talking about is everything underneath the surface. The years of morning show banter that built a public marriage into something audiences feel personally invested in, the surprise EP launch party kept secret until the very last note, the messy bedroom jokes that eventually gave way to genuine artistic pride, and finally this, 3 words dropped without ceremony, that somehow captured an entire relationship's worth of support. Maybe that's the real lesson buried in a story this small. Big love doesn't always announce itself with big gestures. Sometimes it's a scroll, a moment of recognition, and a comment typed in seconds, "Love this babe," that a daughter will probably remember far longer than her mother ever expected. Perhaps the reason so many people remain invested in Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos isn't simply because they've spent decades in the spotlight together. It's because audiences keep catching these small, unscripted glimpses of something genuine, a marriage that still seems to enjoy itself, and a parenting style that shows up in 3 quiet words instead of 100 loud ones. And maybe that's why moments like this stay with viewers long after the video ends and the comment section quiets down. So here's the real question worth sitting with. What does it say about a family when their most talked about moments aren't scandals or staged milestones, but small acts of everyday support caught in real time? And what would it mean for your own relationships if the people you loved most responded to your quiet, vulnerable moments with that same instant, uncomplicated warmth? If this story resonated with you, share your thoughts below. Did Kelly's response feel as genuine to you as it did to so many others watching? What's your favorite Kelly and Mark moment, on air or off? And when someone you love shares something vulnerable with you, is your first instinct to celebrate it the way Kelly did here? Sometimes 3 words are all it takes to say everything that matters.